What's up, fans of anime? How does one differentiate a good isekai from a bad one? Well, here's the thing, you don't. But let's try anyways. So with the large amount of isekais that are coming out within the past decade or so, some people out there might be asking, which one of these don't suck? I am a connoisseur of the most trashiest isekais out there.
And you know me, I don't really watch isekais like that, but you know, I'm here for the ride.
Now before we dive into the nitty gritty of things, there are three main things that you can look for that will 95% of the time tell you how good or bad the anime is. Number one, does the anime have a ridiculously dumb and long name?
You know, that's what I've noticed. I've noticed a lot of animes, especially isekais, they have like some weird long titles. That was it Slime?
That
was the first time I experienced like something that kind of long.
That time I was reincarnated as Slime.
Yeah, that's a long title. And then there's other ones like How Not to Do This or Another World. Or there's a bunch of
so most of the time, probably about 95% of the time, if the anime has a dumb long name, then it's probably bad. I mean, we got things like Reborn as a Vending Machine, I Wandered the Dungeon, or My Instant Death Ability is so overpowered, no one in this other world stands a chance against me. Like, what even is this?
Whoa, but what about Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation?
Okay, so that's the thing. I said, now, there are some isekais that have a long name, but they're actually really good. Like you said, Mushoku Tensei, you also said, That Time I Was Reincarnated as Slime. Name alone doesn't just make the bad isekai as well. Something else that can help you tell it apart. Reason number two, the cover art. Generally speaking, the art and the color palette that they use for the cover art should tell you what the anime is trying to do. If it has an overly dramatic cover, like a lot of dark colors, or maybe they're trying to be really edgy about it, then that generally means they're trying to be serious about it and they're trying to tell you a compelling story. So something like ReZero, it looks very dramatic. This one's trying to be for real about it. It isn't just trying to be super campy and super stupid about what it's trying to do.
But can't you say that about all animes? It doesn't have to be isekai. If a regular anime show has like a dark setting or like a light tone setting, doesn't that already kind of describes it?
Yes, but in the isekai setting, at least a lot of the isekais that are coming out right now, they're really just trying to be more comedic on all of things, and a lot of people just don't like that because they know that it's the same BS that they've been dealing with for the past decade or so. So perhaps when they want a really good isekai, generally the ones that are trying to be serious about it means that they're really serious about trying to make an isekai rather than just using it as a gimmick type thing. Now finally, reason number three, the synopsis of the anime. Usually good isekais will tell you what the main character's backstory was before he got sent to that other world. That shows you that the anime actually cares about who this person was before he got sent to the other world. So an anime like Mushoku Tensei, they explain in the synopsis who he is before they actually introduce like what this new world is to like the audience.
But how does that determine if the anime is gonna be good or not? If the isekai is gonna be good? Do I need to know the character's backstory before he got teleported? I feel like it could do well without it, no?
I think it could, but if it wants to elevate itself from trashy to less trashy, then I feel like it should really matter who they were in their previous world, because that's kind of the whole point. They bring their knowledge from their world to the next world. If it's just as simple as plopping one guy to another, then they can just simply replace it and put it as a fantasy and explain it as such. So those are the three basic things to look at when you're trying to determine trashy anime from good anime. Now let's dive into the nitty and gritty of this. We need to establish a baseline isekai.
Now you're talking about like a neutral ground, right?
Yeah,
like this is like a good.
Yeah, this is
like a standard.
Yeah, this is like the standard. This is like the peak mid.
Okay.
Like things can be worse and better than this anime.
Okay. I feel like mid's a bad word to use. I would say average. Mid sounds like you're demeaning it.
Yeah, well, I mean, this anime is mid amongst the anime community, and that is Sword Art Online. Like it or hate it, this show when it came out in like 2012, 2013 was extremely popular, and it's like a pseudo isekai. It's not a true one because they were just stuck in the world, but I think it deserves to be in this isekai category. Sword Art Online, as an isekai, it's okay. The main issue with this particular anime is that they don't play into the world enough. So something that I look for in any isekai is how do they build this new world that they're being transported into. Sword Art did a pretty good job at doing that, explaining its game mechanics, like this is what you could do, this is what you can't do. But I feel like somewhere along the way there, it kind of got lost and it became more of a romance thing, and they just kind of stopped caring about the whole video game thing.
But does isekais always have to be about world building? I feel like when I hear about Sword Art Online, it's supposed to be like a play on video games.
Yes.
And then, you know, there happens to be two characters that, you know, have romance for each other. And, you know, they have a little party going on. And, you know, they try to go, traverse through the whole thing. That's what I feel like. Does the world building have to be its strength, I guess, is what I'm saying.
To me, I think it has to, just because if they're coming into a completely new world, what makes this world different from our own world? Otherwise, why would you send them to another world? Again, why would you just not make a fantasy world and just establish the rules and the laws of that fantasy world? But yeah, going back to Sword Art, like you said, the main spin for Sword Art was the video game thing and the whole, if you die in the game, you die in real life. I think that was its biggest spin. So I think that part was cool because, you know, dying in a video game, I think that's only been done a handful of times. This is the first time an anime has done this to this scale of popularity. So I think for that, it was good. I feel like for Sword Art, you really could have just taken out the Isekai and just replaced it with the fantasy tag. And I think it would have been fine as well. They don't really play onto the world aspect, or they don't follow the rules of that world as much as I would have liked them to. So now that we've established the baseline anime, what is the peak of Isekai animes? That anime belongs to Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. We just did a review on the latest season of Mushoku Tensei, so check that out. But what makes Mushoku Tensei the greatest Isekai in my opinion? I think it does the world building the best out of all the Isekais that I've watched, and more importantly, I think it does the characters the best as well. So the main character, Rudius, he retains who he is from his previous life, which a lot of really trashy Isekais don't really tend to do. And I think in this scenario, it's great because you just don't suddenly forget who you were in the previous life, like what your beliefs are, what you're afraid of, and how you think. And this was the anime that did it the best. Was crazy to me, just because Sword Art came out in what, 2012, 2013, and yet this was the first time where I thought, wow, this is a really well written main character. These people died in the previous world, so now they have to live through this traumatic experience of, I'm still this person, I'm now in a new world, and how do I deal with that? And I think Mushoku Tensei did that the best. And something else that they did the best was its world building. When they show off this new world, a lot of things pop into your mind. What about this world is different from our own world? And they immediately talk about a different language, which is the first time I actually ever heard of anything in an isekai. He immediately has to learn a new language. That's great, because they then show off there are more than just one language. The views in that particular world are very different from our own views, that the anime generally spends most of its time trying to explain what about it is different, and in turn get the audience interested in this new world rather than simply dropping a main character into a sandbox world and just having him do whatever the hell he wants, which can be fun, but if you're looking for something that's really good or really in-depth, then obviously that's not what everyone's trying to look for.
So of the other animes, isekais that don't do this, what do they do? Because I don't watch a lot. I've only watched like Mushoku Tensei, a part of Shield Hero, maybe Da Hakusan if you want to count that. But I feel like for the most part, they do explain about it somewhat, right?
What the trashy and the mid-tier isekais tend to do is that they simply use isekai more as a convenience type thing. And what I mean by that is, because they're in this new world, this now gives the main character the ability to explain the most rudimentary things that are from our world to this new inhabitants, because to them, they have no idea what that is. One of the isekais that I've enjoyed watching was called Farming in Another Life, and as the name suggests, it is simply just a guy who got isekai'd and all he wanted to do was have a farm. What he does throughout the entirety of that anime is talk about cultivation techniques, and also like, this is what a tomato is, and this is what a cabbage is. And because these people in this world have no idea what these crops and plants are,
so they're doing the reverse.
Yes, they do the reverse.
That's not bad. If it's the reverse way, obviously we know what those crops are, right?
Yes,
if we're using that as an example.
Yeah.
But now we know that world does not know what vegetables are and fruits are. So that's kind of world building in itself.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it just stays surface level in that scenario. So in this particular anime that I'm explaining about, every episode is essentially like, oh, a new crop or a new food dish, that kind of thing. So it's very surface level, and it can get really played out very fast if you're looking for something more interesting. But the reason why I liked it in particular is because it was just some of my favorite games as an anime. Like, this was literally just Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, or Animal Crossing as an anime. So I thoroughly enjoyed this particular anime. And something else that isekais conveniently do is that suddenly when the main character is transported to this new world, he is just magically OP as all hell now. That is probably the most common practice amongst isekai, which is generally the reason why a lot of people hate it, because there's no rhyme or reason as to why this guy got extremely powerful. A lot of people have seen that so much that they really just don't want to see that anymore.
But I always thought isekais were mostly supposed to be fun. When I say that, I'm talking about you just turn your brain off and just watch it and have a good time. And I feel like maybe that's why a lot of people don't like isekais or don't watch isekais, because a lot of people watch it for the action action or people watch for storyline. And Isekai is one of those things where, you know, you just turn on and have a good time, kind of like a cartoon. You just watch one episode and 2 episodes and pass the time.
So in explaining all of that, it should be very obvious that there are a lot of really terrible anime isekais out there, but why is it that I'm such a connoisseur of these terrible animes? Early on in, like, again, the 2010s eras of anime, isekai animes tended to be a little bit more serious and tried to tell a compelling story. And while I did enjoy those kinds of animes back in the past, I feel like the animes that are coming out now have become more compelling than what those particular animes have been doing. And so nowadays I kind of just watch the isekais just more as a joke. Like, it's so ridiculous in one side that it's funny to me. Some people don't like that, obviously, because it's not their thing. But to me, it's kind of like junk anime, kind of like junk food. It's not good, but you like it anyways.
That's kind of what I was trying to get at before. It doesn't have to have compelling stories. It doesn't have to have serious world building. It's just something you can turn on and watch and have a good time.
Yeah, which is fine, but like, I think if you want to get people interested in like the isekai tag, they need to try harder, is what I'm trying to say. Because right now they're not trying at all. Like, they're just saying throw everything to the wall and hope that somebody finds it interesting enough for us to keep going, which there are some isekais that even I don't watch. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning, there was that vending machine isekai anime. I didn't watch that because that thing was garbage. It looked garbage, and I did not like the premise at all just because it was so dumb, which would be up my alley, but I think it needs to try just a little bit more in its niche for me to be interested in it. Like, just at least get me into the door. And in saying all that, that really is like the main beauty of isekais. There really just is a niche for everybody out there. And for me, I just kind of watch all of them just because the idea of just really bad isekais is just hilarious to me. And there you have it. This is how you distinguish a really good isekai from a really shitty isekai, but just in case you haven't been able to pick up what I've been putting down, if you are looking for a good isekai, then it's pretty simple to just stick with the ones that have multiple seasons. I mean, it had to be popular enough to get multiple seasons. Something like that time I was doing Kind of the Slime, I think it's up to season 4 right now. Konosuba season 3 is out as well. And then obviously my favorite isekai, Mushoku Tensei, also has 2 seasons to it as well. So if you want to give isekai animes a chance, then I would suggest you just start watching those.
Woo! Alright, so I guess I know what isekais to watch and what to avoid. And if you have any thoughts you want to say about our video, let us know down in the comments below, man, about the isekais, if you like isekais, why you hate isekais. And also check out our channel. We also do anime reviews, quizzes, and other discussions just like this video. Until next time, thank y'all for watching.